He had lived alone for almost 3 years now, working as a repair technician on the outer edge of human space. His home was a small outpost on a rocky moon called Velrose 9, far from Earth and far from any real excitement. The stars above were always clear, but the days felt long and empty. He wasn't running from anything, really, just liked being away. No bosses shouting orders, no crowds, no war. Ethan had once served in the Terran military corps, but that life was behind him now. Now it was just him, his tools, and the quiet hum of machines that never complained. That was until the sky exploded. It happened just after sunset. Ethan was outside, adjusting the solar panels, when a bright streak of blue light cut across the sky. It roared overhead like thunder, trailing sparks and fire behind it. A crash. A deep, echoing boom shook the ground. Dust rose from the distant mountains. Ethan stood frozen, staring at the smoke curling up into the sky. Not a meteor, he muttered. Too controlled. Instincts kicked in. He rushed inside, grabbed his scanner and old military rifle just in case, and jumped on his hover bike. The coordinates from the scanner pointed northwest, maybe 6 or 7 kilometers into the cliffs. The ride was bumpy. Jagged rocks and sharp winds made it slow, but Ethan kept going. Something had fallen from space. But out here nothing just fell by accident. After an hour, he found the crash site. The ground was blackened. Pieces of strange silver metal were scattered across the area. Smoke hissed from a large crater where a half-buried escape pod had lodged itself into the rock. It looked alien smooth. Curved edges, glowing lines across its surface, and no markings Ethan recognized. His heart pounded. First contact? No, that couldn't be. Humanity had met a few alien races before, but they were distant, cautious, never this far out. Still, curiosity beat fear. He walked carefully to the pod. It made no noise. A crack had opened along the side, almost like a door. Slowly, he stepped closer, and with one gentle push, the door slid open. Inside was a figure. She lay motionless, strapped into a seat. She was tall, almost as tall as Ethan, with smooth silver skin that shimmered in the fading light.
Ow.
Hair looked like woven glass, glowing faintly with pale blue energy. She wore armor, but it was cracked and scorched in several places. Ethan blinked, stunned. Not a robot, not a hologram. A real, living alien woman. Suddenly, she gasped. Her eyes fluttered open, large, violet, and glowing faintly. She looked at him, confusion and fear in her eyes. Her hand weakly reached toward a small metallic crown resting beside her. No move, Ethan said gently, raising his hands. You're hurt. Her lips moved. She tried to speak. At first he couldn't understand. But then his scanner picked up her language patterns and translated the words into his earpiece. Don't let them find me, she whispered. Her head fell back. She passed out. Ethan looked around. The night was coming fast, and if there were others looking for her, they might arrive soon. He had a choice. Report it, call the authorities, follow protocol, but he didn't. Instead, he carefully lifted her out of the pod. She was surprisingly light, though her armor made it difficult. He strapped her onto the hover bike, secured the damaged crown, and began the long ride back. His bunker was built into the side of a hill, hidden and secure. He'd designed it to survive everything from sandstorms to radiation bursts. It was also shielded from scanners, a habit from his military days. He placed the alien woman on the medical table and activated the auto-heal unit. Most of her injuries were internal, some organ trauma, energy loss, and a few broken ribs, but nothing the unit couldn't stabilize, as it worked. Ethan examined the strange crown she had tried to grab. It wasn't just jewelry. It had nodes, lights, and a small crystal core at the center. Some kind of neural device, maybe? He placed it gently beside her. Ethan sat back and stared. He didn't even know her name, what species she belonged to, or why she was running. But her words echoed in his mind. Don't let them find me. Later, that night, while checking the perimeter, Ethan's scanner picked up something worrying. 3 small probes flying low, searching. They moved in perfect lines, circling the crash site. "They're already looking," he whispered. He returned to the bunker, where the alien still slept under the soft glow of the medical unit. Her breathing had become steady, calm. Her skin had regained a bit of its shimmer. He looked at her face. Even unconscious, there was something powerful about her. Not just because she was alien or armored, but something deeper. A presence, a weight of command. "Who are you?" Ethan whispered. He didn't know what was coming, but he knew one thing. His quiet life was over. Forever. The alien woman slept for nearly 2 days. Ethan kept the bunker lights dim, checked her vitals often, and made sure the medical unit worked smoothly. She was healing fast, faster than any human could. Her silver skin had gone from pale to radiant, and her breathing had grown stronger. On the 3rd day, her eyes opened again. Ethan was sitting at his desk, reading some old engineering notes when he heard a soft sound behind him. He turned quickly. She was awake fully this time, her violet eyes locked onto his. They stared at each other for a moment. Then, slowly, she tried to sit up. "Easy," Ethan said, standing. "You're safe here." She looked around the bunker. Her eyes scanned every detail of the lights, the tools, the thick metal walls. When she saw the crown sitting nearby, she reached for it carefully and held it close. Ethan raised his hands to show he meant no harm. "I found you in the mountains," he explained. "Your ship crashed. You were hurt. I brought you here." She studied him closely. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp. After a long pause, she spoke. Her voice was soft but strong, with a strange melody to it. "You are not of the stars." Ethan gave a small smile. "No, I'm just human." She looked down at the crown in her hands, then back at him. "My name's Aralen," she said. "I was Queen of Virilia." The title surprised Ethan. "A queen?" "Yes, but now I am hunted." She looked down, her face showing sadness for the first time. Ethan didn't speak right away. He let her continue when she was ready. "There was a rebellion," Aralen said. "My people are linked. Connected by a technology called the Luminet. It allows us to share thoughts, ideas, peace. I wear the crown to lead that connection. But some wish to control it for power." She looked at Ethan again. "They attacked. I escaped. My guards died protecting me. I crashed here." Ethan nodded slowly. "I see. And now, they're coming for you." "Yes," she whispered. "They will not stop until they find me, or destroy me." There was a long silence. Then Aralen spoke again. "You did not turn me in. Why?" Ethan shrugged. "You asked me not to. That was enough." She tilted her head, studying him again. "You're kind. It's not like mine," he chuckled. "You have no idea?" Over the next few days, Aralen grew stronger. Ethan showed her around the bunker. She was amazed by his machines, though small and simple compared to her world. They were creative and clever. She watched him fix a broken power core with nothing but scrap metal and old wires. In her world, machines repaired themselves. Here humans use skill and invention. "You make order from chaos," she said once, watching him solder a panel. Ethan smiled. "That's kind of our thing." In return, she taught him about the Luminet, her people's shared mind. It connected every Varelian citizen to each other's soft web of thoughts and feelings. It helped avoid war, fear, and hate. But it also made them dependent. Without it, many lost direction. Ethan listened with interest. "So you're like one big family?" "Yes. And I was the guide. The light in the net. Without me, the people will fall into darkness. Or worse, follow the wrong voice." Her face grew hard. "There is a man named Kael'tor. He led the rebellion. Now controls part of the Luminet. He will twist it, turn peace into control." Ethan thought for a moment. "And if he finds you, he'll finish what he started." "Yes, that." Night Ethan worked on improving the bunker's security. Search drones were getting closer. One had passed just a few kilometers away. He adjusted the shields, checked the hidden entrance, and added a few more traps outside. Aralen sat nearby, watching. "You have lived here long?" she asked. 3 years, Ethan replied. "After the war, I wanted peace." "War? Ethan hesitated. Yeah, Earth had its own share of problems. I was in the Terran Corps, engineer mostly. But I saw enough. Lost friends, lost time. So I came here. Aralyn nodded slowly. Then you understand. Ethan looked at her. More than you know. Later, as they shared a simple meal of ration packs and heated broth, Aralyn asked a question that surprised him. Why do you trust me? He looked at her. Why do you trust me? She smiled just a little. I think we both have nothing left to lose, she said quietly. Ethan didn't answer. But he knew she was right. That night, while Aralyn rested again, Ethan checked the scanners. 3 more signals. Faster, stronger. Not drones this time, small ships they were coming. He looked back at the sleeping queen. Her crown now glowed. Faintly again, its power returning, Ethan knew the time for hiding would soon be over. And yet, something inside him had changed. He didn't just feel like her protector. He felt something else, something deeper. Respect, connection maybe, even purpose. She had trusted him, and he would not let her down, not now, not ever. Ethan stood at the edge of the hill watching the night sky glow. Small flashes of light danced. Above the clouds, ships 3 of them had entered orbit. They were not friendly, had no official ID signals, no peaceful hails, and no trade beacons. Ethan knew what that meant. They've found you, he said quietly. Behind him, Queen, Aralyn stood still, her silver armor reflecting the moonlight. Her eyes were fixed on the horizon, glowing softly with violet light. Now she had felt it before the scanners even showed anything. Yes, she said, it is Kael'tor's hunters. They carry no flags, no honor, just orders to destroy. But Ethan didn't need more explanation. The time for hiding was almost over. He turned back toward his bunker. Then we'd better get ready. Ethan's bunker was more than just a shelter. It was a fortress hidden, secure, and built with knowledge from his years in the Terran military corps. Now it was time to turn it into a trap. He opened old storage crates filled with equipment, landmines, shock grenades, and energy nets. He pulled out a rusted auto turret and began repairing it with fast hands. Aralyn watched him work. Your machines are crude, but clever. He gave a tired smile. Well, I built them to keep giant sandworms out. But I guess they'll work on mercenaries too. She stepped closer. I can help. How? I may not have weapons, but I have knowledge. My crown still holds parts of the Luminet. I can sense movements. Minds, even from far away. Ethan looked at her. You can track them? She nodded. If they come close enough, yes. I can feel their intent. That gave Ethan an idea. With her sensing the enemy and him handling the tech, they had a chance. A small one, but a chance. Over the next few hours, they worked together. Ethan placed mines along the rocky path leading to the bunker. He set traps using tripwires and false paths. He repaired the old turret and connected it to a motion sensor. Inside, he rewired the bunker doors to respond only to his or Oralyn's touch. Then he checked the power supply, making sure nothing would fail during a fight. Meanwhile, Oralyn sat, cross-legged in the center of the bunker. Her crown glowed as she connected to the broken threads of the Luminet. I feel them, she whispered. 3 minds. Cold. Empty. They are not like my people. They are trained killers. Ethan loaded his rifle. Yeah, sounds about right. By dawn, the first attack began. A small explosion hit one of the outer mines. A black drone hovered into view, scanning the area with red beams. Ethan fired a shot from his turret. The drone exploded in midair. Moments later, 3 figures moved quickly across the rock stall, armored and fast. They wore dark helmets, and their weapons glowed with energy. They're coming, Ethan shouted. He triggered a trap. The ground beneath one attacker gave way, dropping him into a pit. A second was caught in an energy net and fell, frozen in. Placed the third charge straight toward the bunker. Ethan fired. The shot hit the attacker's shoulder, spinning him back. But he didn't stop. He tossed a grenade. Down, Ethan yelled, pulling Oralen behind a crate. The blast shook the room, sending dust and smoke into the air. Alarms blared. The third attacker kicked open the side door but before he could fire. Oralen stood tall, her crown blazing with light. The invader froze. His weapon shook in his hands. His body trembled. "She's inside his mind," Ethan whispered. The attacker dropped his weapon and fell to his knees. Then he stopped breathing. Oralen gasped, stepping back. Her hands were shaking. "I did not want to do that," she said softly. Ethan helped her sit. "You had no choice. You stopped him." She looked down. It is easy, too easy to take a mind when it is empty, but it leaves behind pain. That night, Ethan checked the perimeter again. The traps had done their job, but he knew more enemies would come. These were just scouts. He found Oralen standing on the roof of the bunker, looking at the stars. "They will return," she said. "With more ships, Kael'tor will not stop." Ethan stood beside her. "Then we fight." She looked at him. "Why do you help me, Ethan? You could leave. This is not your war." He thought for a moment. "Maybe not. But I've seen what happens when people stand by and do nothing. I couldn't live with myself if I let them take you."
Oh.
A small smile touched her lips. "You are strange, human. Strong in ways I do not understand." Ethan laughed. "Welcome to humanity." Later, Oralen sat in the bunker, repairing a piece of her armor. Ethan joined her with a cup of warm synth coffee. "Need to ask you something," he said. She looked up. "This crown of yours, it's the Luminet. If it connects minds, could it connect to a human mind?" She blinked. "It was not built for humans. Our brains are different. But it may be possible." "Why?" Ethan leaned forward. "Because we need every advantage we can get. If I can see what you see, sense what you sense, we'll be stronger." Oralen hesitated. "It is dangerous. If your mind rejects the link, it could cause pain, confusion, even madness." Ethan smiled. "Well, let's hope I'm stubborn enough." As night fell once more, the bunker stood quiet. But both Ethan and Oralen knew what was coming. The next wave would be bigger, stronger, more ruthless. But now they had something more than weapons or traps. They had trust and a plan. The bunker was quiet, but Ethan couldn't sleep outside. The stars shimmered like cold diamonds, and deep inside him he felt a storm building. They had survived the first attack, but Oralen had warned him Kael'tor would not stop. "We're coming. Stronger, faster, and smarter." He sat at his workbench, staring at a broken drone he had salvaged. His hands moved without thinking, fixing a wire here, adjusting a joint there. But his mind kept returning to Oralen's words. "A mind link could help us, but it may also break you." He heard soft footsteps behind him. "I thought you were resting," Ethan said without turning. "I felt your worry," Oralen replied, her voice calm but thoughtful. "You are not afraid of dying, but you are afraid of failing." Ethan nodded slowly. "If they capture you, it's over. Your people lose everything. I can't let that happen." Oralen stepped closer. "Then we try the link. Together." They sat across from each other in the center of the bunker. The room was dark, except for the soft blue glow of the crown. Oralen gently lifted the device and placed it on her head. Then, without fear, she leaned forward and placed her hands on Ethan's temples. "Close your eyes," she whispered. Ethan obeyed. A soft warmth spread from her hands into his skin. He felt a pulse, not like a heartbeat, but like waves of gentle light. It was peaceful at first, like standing under a starlit sky. Then it deepened. In a flash, Ethan's mind opened. He saw everything. He was no longer in the bunker. Stood inside a golden palace with floating walls and glass ceilings. Silver trees lined the halls and glowing symbols danced in the air. It was beautiful, alien, and calm. "This is the Luminet," Oralen's voice echoed in his mind. "You are inside my thoughts, my memories, my soul." Ethan turned to see her glowing with light, her armor shining like crystal. I didn't think it would feel so. Alive, he said. Oralen smiled. It is alive. Every voice adds to the light. Then the vision shifted. The sky above turned dark. A shadow spread across the palace. Ethan saw a tall figure in black armor Keltor. His eyes glowed red, and from his hands, streams of darkness crawled across the ground like vines. This is what he brings, Oralen said. Fear, control, silence. Ethan felt the cold. It wasn't just darkness, it was emptiness. A world where no one thought freely. A world where minds were chained. We can't let him win, Ethan said firmly. Oralen nodded. Then we must fight. Together. Ethan opened his eyes with a sharp breath. He was back in the bunker, sweating but calm. Oralen looked at him with concern. Are you hurt? She asked. No, Ethan said. I feel clear. For the first time in days, his mind was sharp, alert. He could feel things he couldn't before, soft shifts in the air. Movement outside the walls, even the low hum of the stars above. He turned to Oralen. Your mind is beautiful. Your people. They built something amazing. She looked down. It was not enough to stop Keltor. It will be, Ethan said. With this link, I can help in ways I never imagined. The next morning, Ethan tested his new awareness as he worked on building a second turret. He could feel Oralen's thoughts nearby, not words, but quiet signals. Warnings, ideas, emotions. She didn't need to speak. He just knew. When he set a trap, she guided his timing. When he adjusted a power coil, she helped him see the better path. They worked as one mind, human and alien, soldier and queen, and soon they heard the danger. 3 more ships have landed, Oralen said quietly. I feel them, Ethan replied. One to the south ridge, one behind the cliffs, one flying low. She nodded. They are testing us. Searching for weakness, Ethan smiled. Let's show them we don't have any. That night, the second attack came. A team of 6 mercenaries approached from the cliffs. They moved fast, with silent steps and heavy armor. But Ethan had already placed shock plates on the rocks. 1 step sat. The first man dropped. The others raised their weapons, but the turret whirred to life, firing precision shots. 2 more fell before they even reached cover. From the bunker, Oralen sent a surge. Through the link. Ethan felt it like a whisper to the left. He turned, fired, and caught the 4th attacker behind a rock. Only 2 remained. One tried to retreat, the other moved for the main door. But this time, Oralen stood waiting. She raised her hand, and her crown glowed brightly. The attacker stopped mid-step, frozen by the weight of her presence. Ethan stepped forward and disarmed him with 1 strike. The last man, panicking, ran back to his ship. We let him go. Ethan asked. Oralen nodded. He will bring a message that we are not weak. After the battle, the bunker was quiet again. Ethan sat by the power unit, wiping sweat from his brow. We won again. For now, Oralen said. Come himself next time. He will not trust others to finish what he started. Ethan looked at her. Then we make our final stand. Oralen placed a hand on his shoulder. Thank you, Ethan. You were not born of my world, yet you fight for it as if it were your own. He looked up at her. It is now. Outside, the wind howled across the rocky hills, but deep inside the bunker, 2 minds, once strangers from distant worlds, were now joined, and together they were ready for whatever came next. The wind had changed. Ethan noticed it first. The air was still dry, but there was a strange hum in the breeze, low vibration that didn't come from nature. It came from something massive. Oralen opened her eyes at the same moment. She stood from her meditative pose and looked up at the bunker ceiling. He is here, she said softly. Ethan didn't have to ask who Kale-Tora the rebel, the enemy, the one who had destroyed her world, the one who now came to finish the job. Far above the hills, a massive ship sliced through the clouds like a blade. Unlike the scout ships from before, this one had markings of command. Its black surface shimmered. With red lights, long wings reached outward, and from its center glowed a strange, pulse-dark energy. Unlike anything Ethan had seen before, from his bunker screen, Ethan watched it descend. "That's no normal ship," he muttered. Rowland stood. Beside him, her face calm but serious. "It is the Obsidian Crown, Kael'tor's personal warcraft. It holds his army and his mind." Ethan frowned. "What do you mean his mind? He is not just a soldier anymore," she said. He connected his thoughts to a corrupted part of the Luminet. He can now control machines, even some people. With his will, Ethan stared at her. "So we're not just fighting weapons. We're fighting his mind." Rowland nodded. For a moment, there was silence. Then Ethan stood up. "Then we hit his mind hard enough to break it." Preparations began. Immediately, Ethan rechecked all traps. We wired the auto turrets, charged the last of the shock grenades. His hands moved fast, but his thoughts were calm. Rowland was sharing her focus with him through the link. Meanwhile, she placed her crown on her head and extended her thoughts deep into the Luminet. She was trying to block Kael'tor's reach, trying to protect Ethan's mind from the incoming storm. "He will try to invade your thoughts," she warned. "You must stay strong." Ethan smiled. "I've survived boot camp and 2 alien invasions. I think I can handle one dark-minded maniac." She didn't laugh. Her eyes showed worry. Kael'tor was once kind. Before power changed him, if he touches your mind, he will try to break it. Twist your memories. Make you doubt everything. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then remind me who I am if I forget." The Obsidian Crown landed 2 kilometers from the bunker. Dust and wind blasted in all directions as the ship's heavy legs crushed the rocks beneath. Then the doors opened. Rows of soldiers marched out. Machines, not men. Tall, armored figures with glowing red eyes and smooth metal armor. They moved in perfect silence. In the center walked Kael'. He wore no helmet. His face was pale like Arlen's, but colder. His eyes glowed red, and a black crystal crown hovered just above his head. Floating without touch, Kael'tor raised one hand. The soldiers stopped. "I know you're here, Rowland." His voice echoed through the wind, amplified not by sound but by thought. His message pressed against Ethan's mind like a heavy blanket. "I gave you a chance," Kael'tor continued. "You ran. You hid among insects. Now I will end your story." Ethan felt a sharp pain behind his eyes. He gritted his teeth. He's trying to get in. Arlen touched his arm. Her thoughts moved through the link like light through glass. "Focus on me," she said. "Remember the stars? The first time you saw the palace?" The calm of the link. Ethan breathed deeply. The pain faded. The first wave attacked. 10 machines rushed toward the bunker, fast and without fear. Ethan fired. The turret too fell. Rowland sent a mental blast. 3 more dropped. The remaining 5 reached the outer. Traps and exploded in flashes of light, but Kael'tor did not stop. More soldiers came to 20. Then 30. Ethan fought hard. His rifle overheated. Shoulder burned from a blast that hit too close. But he didn't stop. Rowland stood beside him, a warrior of light, her crown glowing like a sun. But it wasn't enough. The outer defenses failed. The last turret sparked. One soldier broke through the entrance. Ethan grabbed a plasma blade and charged. The fight was short and brutal. He won, but barely. His arm was bleeding then. The bunker shook. Kael'tor had arrived. The enemy leader stepped into the bunker like a king returning to his throne. The red light from his crown filled the room. Rowland stood to face him. "Brother," she said softly. Ethan froze. "Brother," whispered. Kael'tor smiled, but there was no kindness in it. "She didn't tell you. We were born from the same light, raised to lead together, but I saw the truth." Rowland's voice was calm. "You saw power, and you chose control over peace. You chose weakness," he said, "and now you hide behind this human." Kael'tor raised his hand toward Ethan. Pain exploded in Ethan's mind. He fell to one knee, holding his head. Images flashed fire, death, failure, voices shouting. His past mixed with lies. Kael'tor was trying to break him, See what you really are, Kaltor hissed. Nothing but dust. No, Arellen shouted. She reached out and touched Ethan's forehead. A burst of white light filled the room. Ethan's memories cleared. He saw the stars again. He saw her palace, saw her hand in his, standing against the darkness. I'm not dust, Ethan said, rising slowly. I'm human, and we don't break easy. With one final breath, Ethan pulled the emergency power core from the bunker wall and slammed it into the ground. A shockwave of light surged outward. Kaltor met, his controls shattered. The machines froze. The black crown cracked. Arellen stepped forward. Goodbye, brother. She placed her hand on his chest, and the light from her crown entered his Kaltor. Collapsed. The battle was over. Ethan sat outside the bunker, his face covered in dirt, his body aching. Arellen sat beside him. You saved me, she said softly. He shook his head. You saved me too. She smiled. The war's not over. But today, we won. He looked up at the stars, for the first time in a long while. I believe in something again. She looked at him. And what's that? He smiled. Hope. The sun was rising over the quiet hills. Soft golden light touched the rocks and sand. The warship, the Obsidian Crown, lay still and silent in the valley, its dark surface cracked and broken. Inside the bunker, Ethan leaned against the wall, his body tired, but his eyes open. He watched Arellen standing near the ships. Remains, she was sending a message, not with wires or screens, but with her mind. The net is healing, she said. Now others can hear again. Ethan nodded. Good. It's time they knew the truth. Across the galaxy, light traveled fast. In quiet corners of distant worlds, people felt something new in their minds. A message, clear, honest, and full. Of hope, it was Arellen's voice. This is Queen Arellen of the Luma. I am alive. Kaltor has fallen. His crown is broken. Earth helped me survive. Humans stood with me. His name is Ethan, and with him we begin again. On a mining station orbiting a red dwarf star, an old Luma mechanic paused his work and looked up. He smiled in the forests of a green moon. A group of exiled warriors lifted their heads as the message reached them. On a peaceful water world, a small child blinked and whispered, "The queen has returned." The stars had heard. Back on Earth, Ethan was working again. He wasn't building weapons this time. He was helping Arellen repair a long-range beacon. It would become the first station of peace's signal to all who were ready to listen.
You?
No, he said, holding a tool in one hand. I used to think Earth was the center of everything. Then I met you. Arellen smiled softly. Earth is special, not because of power, but because of heart. Ethan chuckled. I never thought I'd hear a space queen say something that poetic. I have learned from you, she said gently. Your people feel deeply, and sometimes that is stronger than any machine. Ethan looked at her for a long moment. You've changed too. You're not just fighting to survive anymore. No, she said. Now I'm fighting to live, to grow, to bring light back to the galaxy. They continued working until the beacon stood tall, shining like a tower of hope. Later that night, the two sat near a small fire outside the bunker. The stars were clear above them. No warships, no enemy drones. Just peace, I wonder, Ethan said, staring into the flames. What happens next? Arellen tilted her head. What do you mean? You've sent your message? People will come. Some will want peace. Some might not. She nodded. Yes, there will be danger. Some of Kaltor's followers may resist. And Earth, Ethan asked, will they be ready for all this? Arellen was silent for a moment. Your planet is strong, she said finally, but it needs guidance. It needs someone who understands both worlds. Ethan looked at her. You mean me? Are human, she said. But your mind has touched the net. You have seen more than most, felt more. Ethan laughed softly. I was a nobody, just a repair guy. Now I'm some kind of ambassador. It's not just any ambassador, she said. The first bridge between our peoples. The next day, the first ship arrived. It was small. Old Luma scout ship, with blue markings of peace. Inside were 3 passengers, 1 old warrior, 1 young scholar, and a healer. They stepped out and bowed before Erilyn. "We received your message," said the warrior. "We have come to serve." Ethan stood beside her, feeling a strange pride. These were not soldiers of war. They were builders, thinkers, helpers. More would follow. Over the next few days, other ships came. Few from Earth, 2 scientists, leaders, and curious travelers. They didn't all speak the same language, but they shared the same dream. The bunker became a camp, then a station, and soon a growing city. Together, humans and Luma worked side by side. Ethan walked through the camp one evening, passing by tents, machines, and even a small garden. Children played. Engineers argued over power settings. Aralen spoke with a group of scholars about a new school. He smiled. "Never thought I'd see something like this," he said to himself. A voice answered from behind, and it started with one choice. He turned to see Aralen. One choice. "To help a stranger," she said. "One act of kindness. And now look." "I guess helping you really did change my life," he said. She stepped closer. "And you changed mine." That night, the beacon finally lit up in full. Its bright light reached high into the sky, sending out a soft humming invitation. A message of peace. Ethan stood at the top of the tower, looking out over the valley. He could see lights, dozens of small ships coming from the stars. More. "Visitors?" he asked. Aralen nodded. "More friends, I hope." He looked at her. "You think the galaxy's ready?" "I think it has waited long enough," she said. As the stars shone above and the wind carried the hum of the beacon, Ethan realized something simple but powerful. He wasn't just part of Earth anymore. He was part of something bigger. A new world. New beginning. And it all started because he chose to help. The beacon stood tall, shining like a second star above the desert hills. Ships continued to arrive, and with each landing, more beings joined the growing camp: humans, Luma, and others from the galaxy. Together, they built, learned, and dreamed. But for Ethan, something else had started to grow inside him. A question. Would he stay or go home? That morning, Ethan stood near the garden, watching a group of children, human and Luma, play together. They laughed, ran, and shared snacks from both worlds. It was a peaceful scene. But even peace didn't stop the ache in his chest. Aralen walked up beside him. "You're quiet today." Ethan nodded, "Just thinking about Earth." She asked gently. He looked at her. "Yeah, my family, my old life. I haven't seen them in months." She didn't speak for a moment. "You miss them," she said. "I do," he said. "They probably think I disappeared forever." "You didn't," she said. "You found something new, but I understand." Ethan turned to her. "What about you? You're finally free. You have your people again. The stars are opening to you. Do you still need me?" Aralen looked straight into his eyes. "Ethan, I don't need you, but I want you to stay." That simple answer made his heart beat faster. Later that day, a ship from Earth landed. It carried a small team of envoy scientists, diplomats, and one familiar face. Ethan turned, surprised. "Laura?" It was his sister. They ran to each other and hugged tightly. She had tears in her eyes. "I thought you were gone," she said. "Not gone," he said. "Just far away." She looked around. "What is this place?" He smiled. "A new start." She shook her head in amazement. "You've really been living with aliens?" "Not just living," he said. "Helping, building, learning." She laughed a little. "You? The guy who couldn't even fix the coffee machine at home?" Ethan smiled. "I've changed." That night, they all sat around. A fire: Ethan, Laura, Aralen, and a few others. They shared stories about Earth, about the battles, and about the hope growing in this valley. Laura looked at Aralen with curiosity. "You're the queen?" Aralen nodded politely. "Yes." "And Ethan has been important to me," Laura raised an eyebrow. "Important how?" Ethan coughed. "We've grown close," Laura smirked. Wow, you fall in love with an alien queen, and no one back home believes in aliens yet. They all laughed, but the question still sat between them. What would Ethan do? The next day, Arlen invited Ethan to the top of a new platform, high above the valley. From there, they could see the entire camp, the beacon, and the ships coming and going. I've asked my people to begin building more stations like this, she said on other worlds. Ethan nodded. Spreading peace. Yes, she said, but it won't be easy. Some will resist. Some will try to take control again. He looked at her, and you'll need help. I will, she said. People who understand both sides. People like you. He turned away and looked at the horizon. And if I leave, what happens then? You will still be part of this, she said, no matter where you are. He was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke softly. I want to see my family again. I want to walk the streets of my hometown, eat normal food, sit on my old couch. Aralen nodded. Then you should go. He looked at her surprised. You're not going to stop me? No, she said. Because love is not control. You gave me freedom. I will give you the same. 3 days later, Ethan stood at the ramp of the Earth ship. He had a small pack of clothes, a few gifts from the Luma, and one crystal pendant from Erlen shaped like a star. She stood beside him, her expression calm but warm. Will I see you again? He asked. She smiled gently.
How the stars are wide.
But our connection is strong. I believe we will meet again. He took her hand. This isn't goodbye. No, she said, this is until next time. He leaned forward and kissed her forehead. Soft, quiet goodbye, full of meaning. Then he stepped aboard the ship, back on Earth. Ethan's return was unexpected and unbelievable. The news spread quickly. Man returns. After months claims he lived among aliens. At first many didn't believe him, but soon they had proof. Aralen's message reached Earth's satellites. Beacons glowed in the night sky. Peaceful ships landed with gifts and scholars. The world changed, and Ethan became something more than a man, became a symbol, a bridge between Earth and the stars. Months later, Ethan stood at a podium at the United Nations. The room was full of leaders, scientists, and students. Behind him stood a new banner, half Earth's flag, half the symbol of the Luma. My name is Ethan, he began. I was once a regular man, mechanic, a nobody. I helped a stranger in need. That stranger turned out to be a queen, and in helping her, I found something greater than myself. He paused. I found purpose. That night, he stood on his apartment balcony, looking up at the stars. In his hand was the crystal star pendant. He closed his eyes. He didn't speak, but he felt it like a whisper in his mind. I'm here, Ethan, Arlen's voice echoed. Softly he smiled. Me too. And so, the story of one human and one alien queen became legend. Not for battles or glory, but for a simple truth. Kindness can change everything, and sometimes the smallest act can lead you to the stars. The end.